The seagulls follow trawler. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much.
Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Yes, good evening. Welcome to post-match pish, and it is a Champions League special that we're doing tonight. We have clashed with other pods and all that, but that's because Ollie has work. We've got full-time jobs, so we need to get home. I couldn't have Mark or Terry missing out or being late for their work tomorrow and blaming it all on the bus. So, and you know, if I was late, probably be par for the course. But tonight is not about any of that nonsense. Tonight is a night Celtic tumble out the Champions League. I can't even believe I'm saying that after 4 games. I know there might be differences of opinion in the group, but from my point of view, and I think the vast majority of supporters' point of view, we went into a group, Terry, that there was a heck of a lot of optimism about when the draw was made. There was a lot of talk of, you know, third place looks really, really, you know, a real strong chance of achieving. Second place, the Holy Grail, very strong chance of achieving. Ironically, despite the fact we only had 1 point from 9, and despite many people feeling this group's been cursed for Celtic so far, with only 1 point from 9 from a possible 9 points, we had an opportunity where win 2 home games and we were going to go in second place, pretty much. I mean, that well, apart from Shakhtar just doing mad things, but I mean, tonight we tumble out. We always called this group the gauge the process period. I'm sick of trusting a process when it's 16 months in. That's just bollocks, and it's just patronising fluff that you're getting told. You know what I mean, Terry? It doesn't have any substance to it. It's just people not wanting to criticise or even openly give an opinion on the team they supposedly love. Now, if you do everything blindly, Terry, and with complete bias, then you're never going to give any sort of constructive opinion. Today we gauged the process. Judging by the comments, a lot of people aren't very happy with a lot of Celtic display. I don't know. I think at one point before that triple swap, Terry, I'm watching it thinking, if we get the next goal, you could be doing this post-match pish going, Taylor was a hero of the night. Jens was a hero of the night. How much better are we with Cameron Carter-Vickers back? O'Reilly, a born-again number 6, and all this stuff. And now, of course, it goes the other way. I mean, we've got to look at a team right now, Terry, that we're talking about scoring 10 goals. And me and you talking about a team. We did post-match pish after a record-breaking 9-0 away win at Dundee United. Now we're talking about a team that looked like, I think we could have played another 90 minutes tonight. Terry, and not have scored. I'll come to you first. What's your instant takeaways? But it's just bizarre right now.
The overriding emotions, just disappointment, same pish. But then just when you say it there, up until when Leipzig scored, I mean, I couldn't believe we were sitting watching a 0-0 game because both sets of players had passed up opportunity after opportunity. That game could have been sitting at 5 or 6 all at one stage. I mean, both sides were just so open, open at the back. I look like a bit of a cock because on Saturday I said there's absolutely no way Celtic will keep missing these chances, and then tonight I don't know, we've missed so many. It doesn't seem to matter who it falls to either. We just miss. And about a month ago, I sat and said I couldn't see that Shakhtar team getting another point in this competition, and they were about 30 seconds away from beating the champions. So what the hell do I know about football?
But Terry, I'm going to go through, like, see the first half, for example. I started writing them down because I was like, this is nuts. Obviously, we know what happened in the second half, right? That's more prevalent in our minds. But like in the first half, you've got Maida after a minute. The header might be a slightly awkward type, but fuck me, get it on target, right? That's just excuses. Taylor does that mad cutback at one point where anyone with the strength of their convictions hits that ball straight at goal, and I think the chance that he probably scores if he hits the target. You've then got Kyogo. Well, in fact, sorry, before Kyogo, there was the O'Reilly hitting the post. Then Taylor hitting the bar. I don't even know how Taylor hits it in the ground so soft, yet it's bounced so high. And then you've got, and I think the Kyogo one, we all have to say, Giakoumakis at times I think is getting a raw deal because he's on the park for 5 minutes as a sub trying to grow into a game, maybe getting a chance at that because he gets in those positions. If Giakoumakis had started the game, it was 40 minutes into it or 35 minutes, whatever it was, and gets that header, I think we're talking about a goal. That's maybe me being biased. But again,
I think that one was the worst. That one was probably the worst for me. That one, Kyogo one. I thought that was the easiest. I thought that was the easiest chance.
Oh right, aye. I thought you meant sorry.
Kyogo's chance. I thought no, there were plenty of good chances, but I thought that was the one that really should be going in the net. Yeah.
But Terry, see when you go through even those and you're going, seeing that first half, I felt RB Leipzig dominated periods of play. I think we need to expect that in the Champions League. But we've got this supposed cutting edge up front, and at times I think the counter-attack showed that. But how on earth we're missing these opportunities? How it's now became, unfortunately, our death knell, if you like. Mark, I'll come at you on that because me and Terry spoke, as he says last week, saying literally we didn't see us managing to do the same thing again. When you look at that amount of opportunities, Mark, and then you start comparing and contrasting it with the first 3 games, it's actually been Celtic's death knell. Now, of course, there's other aspects to it. But when you look at the missed opportunities that have consistently been achieved by Celtic, game after game, or not achieved, if you like, that has been such a huge part of this group falling apart. I cannot believe a team that seems so ruthless, up until recently, of course, but domestically in terms of in front of goal. They seem so good. They seem so deadly. What the hell is going on when we get these opportunities at a higher level?
Well, I think 2 of your last 5 goals have been own goals, boys. Saying that's all you've got to know on that one. You know what I mean? I think the last 4 or 5 games, I think we've struggled. The game against St Mirren was peppered with the same mistakes as this game. No concentrating at the back, coupled with no taking chances, and that's not a good mix. If you're letting goals in the back and you're not scoring your opportunities, that's a bad mix. That is a form stopper. I think there's been too many players that have been reading their own press. I think there's the performances at stages in the last 4 or 5 games have been there at stages, 5-10 minutes here and there. But see this zip for corner kicks and free kicks and throw-ins, that stopped. There was one opportunity in the first half, and Juranovic, I think he was trying to do a competition if he spinned the ball that many times, he get somebody to take a photograph of him in the Champions League. He was concentrating that much in his appearance. He took a he threw the ball out of play. Now, before Celtic are getting the ball, it's getting picked up and zipped on the park straight away. That's with corner kicks, free kicks and throw-ins.
Of course. See,
losing that intensity for the opposition, slowing the game down. Understand that. You can't help that. But see, when your own players are doing it, and it happened against Motherwell, I mentioned it happened against St Mirren. And I think that drop-off in intensity is working its way all throughout the team. And that coupled with the fact that Kyogo just can't finish it down at the moment.
Well,
And I just don't know what Jack and Marcus has today to get a chance. I think genuinely, if he came on the park tonight and won the match for Celtic, it wouldn't have made one bit of difference to his Celtic position. He's number 2 choice, and that's the way he's going to stay at the moment. And there was a moment in the second half when Kyogo was doing injured, and I'm going to be honest with you, I was hoping that was the end of his match. I thought we've got a chance of getting something here. And no, I wasn't hoping he was injured, but I was hoping
get what you're saying.
For a wee
I actually thought the same as that, by the way.
Yeah,
I actually felt that. I know exactly the feeling you're talking about. It's forcing his hand.
And you mentioned the 3 subs, boys.
Yes.
I think the 3 subs thing happens for the sake of it now. I think the sub that had to happen for me was Jack and Marcus on the park. That had to happen.
Yes.
Although I thought Moy played well when he came on and Turnbull made us still look busy, I thought the 3 subs was just a case of just doing something, and it smacked of a certain Mr. Lennon in Europe. Mr. Lennon in certain big games, just do something, fling shit at the wall and see what sticks. And I didn't enjoy that tonight, and I don't think many people did.
Well, I think that you take us on to one of the points we want to talk about. As I say, the missed opportunities was like sort of that was the big headline for me, just because.
Oh, sorry, mate. I understand.
I don't think it was the worst Celtic display I've ever seen in my life. I don't think we were the better team at any point. But when I see that amount of opportunities getting created, when I start listing them, and I don't often take notes, if I'm listing them, it's because it's drawn an eye to it, and then you're going, second half, you're looking at the Giakoumakis one, and Terry, you've got a different take for me. I feel VAR, for it not to look at that, I think is scandalous. Now, I totally get the fact, I love Big Sutton, for example, and Sutton was on and went, I think they should take a look at that. However, I suppose if you put yourself in Sutton's boots at the time, Sutton scores that no matter what. He just scores. And if someone's pulling him back, he expects to be pulled back. Doesn't make that big an impact. But I still think if this is what VAR is at Champions League level, what difference is it going to make, Ray? Our numpties running it, Terry. I think, chances of that for Giakoumakis, there's 2 sides to it. I like your take that you should take responsibility and score it anyway. I thought it was a penalty, I'll be honest. And that's not me clutching at straws, and it's certainly not, Terry, why.
No, I've seen it on here again just while we've been chatting, and there definitely is something in it. What I don't understand about VAR is what do they look at and what do they not? Do they just is it a lottery, or you only look at a certain amount of things per game? I would have thought an incident in the penalty box 2 yards out from goal and where there's a massive appeal, surely you look at it. And
did they appeal it? Did we appeal it? Did the Celtic players appeal it like the way Rangers players would? I didn't see many.
They don't have to appeal it. No, Jack and Backus seemed pretty certain that there was something in it. And yeah, I suppose my initial instinct was, look, big man, just buried ball, net, keeper, everything. Well, this is take everything with you. But
Jerry, it doesn't matter if football's changed or not. If it's still a physical game and someone's going to get their arm pulled back and it's not going to be a foul, then there's comments coming in and say, football's moved on since then. Well, I just seen it there. A physical challenge get made that wasn't flagged for anything, and it caused, according to Giakoumakis, a miss. So you can't have it both ways. I think the comparison is fair. When you look at tough strikers, and I think Giakoumakis, to be honest with you, has been a bit of a warrior for Celtic. I don't know if I'm in the halfway house where I expect him to still score the opportunity. When you watch it back, you're now focused on the arm getting pulled back rather than, well, how are you not still burying that? And maybe that's because your eyes favour to look at what could be a penalty, Terry, in these situations.
Just going back to the changes, just want to get your views. I actually felt we did need to make changes. I felt Hitati probably didn't have his best game tonight. Plus, he was on a yellow card, and he was. I was kind of thinking he's one late one away here from getting a red. So I did feel as if he needed to come off. I felt as if Haksabanovic was quite good in the first half. He was behind a lot of the creative stuff, but he had sort of petered out a little bit. So I wasn't surprised at both of those guys coming off, and I felt the other substitution then at that point would have either been Kyogo or Maeda. I might have tried to be a little bit more creative and keep Kyogo on the pitch, possibly out to the left, and take Maeda off. Just from watching the game, I actually felt as if we were almost playing a 4-2-4 because Haksabanovic was playing very, very high. He was almost beyond Kyogo at stages. So again, going back to our little conversation from Saturday, I don't see how that can't be the two main strikers if we're prepared to play Hacksaw and give him that sort of free rein to get forward without chasing back.
I think it's a brilliant point. I think it's a brilliant point. Do you know what? There was concern in the WhatsApp group chat, Mark, and obviously we had a good debate before the game in the old WhatsApp Boise Bus group chat nonsense, and I think it did seem, without a number 6, it looks like Celtic could be open. But I'd actually bizarrely predicted it. I think that O'Reilly, it turns out they were saying in commentary as well, he played there for MK Dons. That was actually when he played. So he was playing one further forward for Celtic since he joined. I think he did very well there. And to be honest, I'm not surprised. Ange fancies him before the other options at number 6, is to be perfectly blunt with you and frank. But then you've got the Hacksaw element that brings. If you're playing, you still got Tati and O'Reilly, but one of them's actually playing deeper, but still with that sort of attacking intent. Suddenly we had a Haksabanovic who seemed to, when he was getting on the ball, firstly, playing with a confidence, a swagger, and a bit of presence like Champions League football might not be something I'm fazed by when I get in the final third, which I do feel the rest of the team were to an extent. All of them, by the way, at points. You've seen Abada take on a player and in fact, it led to his foul, he got injured. The Kyogo missed opportunities, the Maeda missed opportunities, and you just wonder if, when you combine them all at this level, that next stage of composure only certain few have. I don't know. But Hacksaw in that role was very interesting because it gave us a completely different dynamic. And where he was popping up, I thought his final ball, etc., I thought his delivery, his composure, as I say, and his directness, which I love. At one point, he goes for the shot that is not on when Greg Taylor, who was in a far better version of that position 5 minutes before it, cut it back. And I thought, there's the fucking difference. But do you think there is maybe a nod here that we could see, Mark, of, Celtic not necessarily needing to have this holding role midfielder, and there is potentially options for us to almost go, well, if you looked at it on paper today, it was 4 kind of attacking forwards. Normally it'd be 3.
I think we're all kind of like into this modern type of football where you think you need a number 6 all the time, and do you know what? We don't need a number 6 when you think about it, especially in Scotland. I think, in fact, I think it was maybe pre-season we were talking about it, and we discussed about whether we need Callum McGregor sitting as deep as what he is. Personally, I think when Celtic go forward, you still need to cover that area. I think Brown did it a lot with Tierney, and Taylor kind of stumbles a bit when he's not got that number 6 to protect him. But I totally agree. If we can get somebody who's going to sit forward, no bursting forward as much as like a Stan Petrov as such, but somebody in between. And what I quite liked when I looked at Haksabanovic, I was quite excited to see him play. So I looked at all his YouTube reels, and it reminded me of very much
who was this, sorry?
Haksabanovic.
Yeah.
Sorry, when I watched him play pre-season, I watched his YouTube reel and all the rest of it, and I thought he looked like Will Yunusi when he was at Celtic on that left-hand side and cutting in. And that's why I was quite surprised to learn that he's supposed to be into the number 10 role. So the opportunity for that guy, I think his best football comes at driving at goal. You know what I mean? And if that's his position for Celtic, it could be that one right in behind the strikers. But ready overlap or not, should somebody, i.e. a Giakoumakis, lay it off to him, maybe it doesn't work with a a striker like Kyogo who runs in behind. Maybe he needs somebody to play Affy. Because it looks to me as if he's got a good physique about him. He can run through a defence, but he can't carry the ball himself. He's going to need somebody to play alongside. And if Rio Tati is going to be on the left-hand side of that midfield, that's going to hamper that, I think. because I think he's going to be running through the middle, slightly to the right, and he needs somebody to play halfway. And I don't know if Hattati's that man. So it kind of throws up the what we're doing in midfield to make the most of Haksabanovic, to be quite honest with you, because I think he's got ability to break through defences in stuffy stadiums in Scotland and be that difference maker. Even in some Europa League matches, should we make it? But we've got to find a system that suits it. And I'm not against having a number sixes, but we need to protect in some games. And
Of course.
I think looking at the day, Jens and Carter Vickers, they looked solid to me. I thought even at one point,
excellent displays, mate.
And it just justifies all yours saying that Welsh maybe needs that better player, and Jens needs that better player to solidify that defence. And I thought Jens looked a lot more comfortable today, and I thought Welsh looked a lot more comfortable the other day there with Carter Vickers. I thought Welsh played really well in Saturday.
Fair.
And I think, and that's what it comes down to, is complementing each player. And I think Haksabanovic would be complemented more with a Giakoumakis and a Kyogo who's running in behind, if you get what I'm talking about.
Why, Terry, can we not get this at least seen at some point now? The harsh reality is Celtic's out the Champions League now, right? That's it, with 2 games to go. If that doesn't get... Now, we were also told at the weekend, remember, we reckon Ange might have been prioritising the Champions League, such was the crucial nature of the game. Yet still, it's impossible for him to see a way. There is no way he can see Kyogo and Giakoumakis in that team at the same time. I find it baffling where he also thinks with triple swaps, bringing on his pet. I don't get it. Actually, see, to be fair, I thought Moy did all right tonight. Actually did. Kudos where it's due.
Although even then, he didn't bring him on in the 6. He kept it right in the 6 and pushed Moy on.
I know. And the thing is, I just look at the triple swap though, Terry, and I go, do you know what? Tati was fading. But we were still 0-0. And it still felt like we had more of a chance of something happening with him getting something right than bringing on Turnbull, who'll not get anything right or wrong, just sort of float. I didn't feel he was making that input. I think Tati is one of those, he's a risk taker. We were talking about this last week, and I don't mind that. He's braving the ball. But once you bring off him, why is it that when you're bringing on Moy and Turnbull in the midfield, why is it it's, Kyogo's sacrifice for Giakoumakis? Look how you started the game, Ange, and we're still 0-0. Now, you keep telling us you're going to keep going the same way. That again looked to me a wee bit, Terry, with the subs. Like, we started going, well, we can't afford to lose this one. And I just think that Celtic become almost a transparent team. At any moment, they look like they're going to go against what our sort of ideology is. I think we put the fear in teams a wee bit, I think. I think even Leipzig, when we were getting spells, it rattled them. They lost their composure. I think the second team smell a bit of us packing midfield or, not going that all-out way. Haksabanovic coming off for a Turnbull, Moy coming on for a Tati. You look at those 2 subs, I'm telling you, that's a Celtic team that's playing up there to now playing there. Whether that's actually what they were doing or not, that's how you'd feel mentally. You would know straight away. I just wonder if Ange could have, especially with that at stake. Now we know we're out the competition. If you knew you were going to go out, Terry, would it not have been the curveball? Is this not the time to have went, why not play them both? Even if it had been Kyogo on the left with Giakoumakis through the middle or whatever, I think there was definitely a way that 2 guys who have both been bona fide match winners for Celtic and the Ange Postecoglou reign, I think he had to find a way tonight to have had them both on at the same time. And am I just banging the same drum?
So why do you think he's not doing it then? Do you think it's just become such a thing with people within the fans talking about it? I'm sure he doesn't hear what the fans are saying. It just doesn't seem to want to entertain it at all.
It feels as a bone of contention there, Terry. I've got to be honest, and I don't like doing it just for the sake of it, but on this one, I do feel there's almost a Strachan-esque level of stubbornness, whereas it's staring you in the face, but because I've not done it for so long, I ain't doing it now and getting proven wrong. I don't know why I feel like that. And I don't like being like that for the sake of it, as I say. But in this instance, I can't find a way to fathom how, if we can start with 4 forwards, if you like, today, we then bring one other on, James Forrest, for the injured one, then the next option, when it's still 0-0 and we're in the game and you've approached the game like that, why on earth you wouldn't then do forward for forward? Why it'd be forward for midfielder? I just feel when Celtic do that, other teams smell blood.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. As I said, I thought we played what would look to me as a 4-2-4. Why can 2 of those 4 not be our top 2 scorers from last year? See, just come back to the changes as well, boys. I mean, if you look back to the game last week, whenever McGregor went off, Abelgard came on. Yeah, he's nowhere to be seen tonight. Yeah, he was one of the 3 number 6s that were brought on Saturday. There just doesn't seem to be any sort of rhyme or reason as to who's being brought on and why. It is a little bit scattergun, to be honest. Do we know why Jota didn't play?
Well, I think Regan's theory's out the window. He had a theory anyway about, I think,
which made sense. It made sense until a certain point.
Aye, so you see him with a peaky blinders bonnet sitting in the stands, watching the game, not giving a toss. I thought he's definitely not got COVID. But the Jota one's a knock, obviously. I mean, it was an injury. I think I was saying this last night, Mark. If we, after the performance on Saturday, it wasn't great, right? I think after that, if he also compounded it with Jota's injured, I think there would have been, that just causes headlines that's not needed. So I think Ange just tried to play it down, knowing it's not a serious knock, knowing that at this point there might be a slim chance that he could play the Tuesday. Why exasperate the fan base at this point in time? So I get why that's not happened. But the fact of the matter is, there still was tools there, an attacking manner mark that he could use, combinations that he could use. Eyebrows were raised massively at the 4 that started up top. I don't understand how in that top 4, if you're picking that, Chaos Giakoumakis doesn't find a way into that reckoning at the same time as the other guy who's won his big matches that's in that team, Kyogo. I know Kyogo was having his best game, but I just think that I was like, I would have, if it were me, and I know the group's hanging on it, Champions League fate, the competition you want to be at, big boy, is hanging on it, Ange, then you're going to swallow your pride and have the 2 of them on at the same time and have a crack. Because at that point, we're 0-0. And the attacking game that we might be playing, Mark, and albeit there was periods of possession, as I say, I keep wanting to call him RB Leipzig, Red Bull Leipzig had, albeit for those phases, we've contained them at 0-0. And as you say, the defence looked really assured. I think you bring on, I don't know, I think he had to swallow his pride, mate.
Aye, definitely. I mean, sometimes stubbornness has to get put to aside and put to one side. And I felt like if we're losing so many chances, losing so many points in the Champions League through no taking our chances, then you start to play your most clinical player. And I think Giakoumakis is the most clinical striker we've got. His goals to games ratio is really good. I think it's 16 and 18 starts, but I think his goals to the chances taken is really high as well. And we call him the first time finisher for a reason. He sees that goal, and I think it's unfair to judge him on a 20-minute appearance, half an hour appearance. I mean, even the other day there, I don't know if he had his post-match interview, he said, listen, this isn't about me, but when they equalised, the first thing I did was turn around and look at the goalposts and say, I'm scoring the winner on that goals. That's what he said after the match. That's how much confidence he's got in his inability. I agree with you. I think he should have been concentrating on scoring the goal rather than waiting for a tug in his arm or whatever it is he was trying to appeal for. But he just provides you with that clinical striker's instinct. I think Kyogo needs 5-6 chances before he scores, to be fair. He's a player I love, but why not compliment Kyogo with Giakoumakis next to him? Put Kyogo out on the left. We saw Kyogo at Ibrox, but he was playing with Edouard, who had chucked it. Let's be honest. He checked out. He knew before he started that match he was going to Crystal Palace, so I don't think he was trying his arse. So on what basis can he turn around and say to himself, I've tried that, it doesn't work? This was last chance to win for Celtic in the Champions League. I think we had to win the match.
Yep.
Regardless of Real Madrid's result, even if they won 5-0 a night.
We had to win.
It was last chance to win. So that's when you start to throw a spanner in the works. The Jota being injured opened up a pathway for Celtic to do something different.
And Calmac out because we'd seen 4 start marks. Sorry to interrupt, but like that.
No, listen, it's fine. I mean, if Calmac's out, it forces a while into the number 6 position, or at least that holding position.
And then Hacksaw comes in.
And then Hacksaw comes in. And Hacksaw, as we've said, I think he can play along the front three behind the strikers. I think Hacksaw can play anywhere there, right?
Me too.
So that opens you up. That opens you up to be playing Kyogo and Giakoumakis, and that is stubborn. I mentioned it to you pre-season, boys, and you remember me saying this. I think the wee quips to the press are funny. Same with Stratton, until you start to drop points and lose matches, and then they become infuriating.
Yes.
I think he needs to start. And I think unless he wants to get this tag as an infuriating manager in some aspects, he's got to start answering questions properly in the media, and getting
asked better questions.
Obviously, I remember last year it was like, I can't wait to. If I get a chance, I'd ask him proper questions. They get these fan media are in the press conferences, and they're going, "Ange, are you looking forward to go to Sydney?" No, I'd be asking him. If I was there, right, and I wouldn't be there, but I would say, "Ange, can you tell me what it is to the dynamic of your team that you can't play Giakoumakis and Kyogo through the left, because Japan's national manager has said he plays well through the left, and you played him yourself. You played him yourself at Ibrox through the left. So, can you give me a rationale to why this isn't an option for Celtic?" I'd probably get told "fuck off, mate." That's whatever. But anyway, I just don't think it's.
But I think you're right. I mean, I heard a question last week. We're obviously, we're coming off the back of a defeat, and one of the questions was, and do you think that's always been your mentality since your career started? And he's like, I don't know about the start, mate. But I'm like, it's such a sycophantic question that I'm like, the moments right now are to be asking. If you've got this wee pass, go ask him.
Is it went too far, isn't it? Is it went too far now? Where they just has it went too far that they're that far into this bubble with Ange and certain players that criticism or questions or any sort of criticism is just beyond them? I think it is. I think it is, mate. I would fall off my chair if I had a serious question being asked of Ange, or some like critique of certain players being given by, I mean, podcasters, even the guys like ourselves. Folk listen to you, and you can mould some opinions, or you can at least put debate out there. And you get the same people pushing the same narrative. It almost becomes fact. I mean, I know I always say this, right? I know I always say this, but tonight, Juranovic, I felt, if you look at every goal we've lost in the Champions League, I think if you dissect every one of them, Juranovic is following the ball in the back of the net. He's in the picture of every goal we've lost. Juranovic is in the picture. Okay, doing his side, right, and that could be any player, right. I'm not just picking him, right, but I'm just saying, but any fair critique of that guy will not happen by the folk who can spark debate and can change the narrative because they're that far up with us.
Hold people to account that actually are important.
You've got obligations. That's your duty, mate. That's your duty to say.
All we do, mate, is tell 344 watching live right now, though, big boy. No. So it's a busy bus tonight, lads. And thank you all for coming on, because, Mark, one of the best phrases you ever told me in the summer: misery loves company. That's never been proven to be more true. I'd never heard that phrase before. It does make me chuckle when I think about it, though, because this is the busiest post-match pish in a while, mate, and it's a Celtic crash out of the Champions League. I was talking earlier, Terry, about we don't blindly trust the process anymore. We want to gauge it. I want your honest opinion of Celtic's performance in the Champions League so far, compared to what your expectations were. Did you feel that maybe we were too hopeful, too full of bravado because we're beating SPFL teams? Do you think this is actually 1 point for 12, a bit below par? Do you think there's a naivety to the tactics? Terry, take away your... because we can now gauge it, by the way, because we're out. For anyone who wants to wait till the 6 games are played, can piss in the wind. They're dead rubbers for Celtic now. They're games that they might play with freedom, but you can't... there's no part of the learning process we learn from in game match day 5 and match day 6, unfortunately, I'm afraid. That is the truth.
I expected 3rd place. I hoped for 2nd place, realistically expected 3rd. Didn't really see a scenario where we could finish 4th. I just thought with Shakhtar not playing any games at home, with them losing lots of players, I just thought 3rd place was the starting point for me. With
which I think's fair.
Yeah. So to now not even seeing that as a realistic prospect, to be completely out of European football before Christmas, it's pretty disappointing. Do I think we've been good in these games? Yes, at certain periods and for certain, again, Real Madrid match, first 50, 60 minutes, did really well. The performance away in Shakhtar I was actually surprised with how well we played in that game, but that was possibly one of these games where we started missing chance after chance after chance. Game away in Leipzig, I didn't see it live. I was on the radio that night. I've seen it back.
Yeah, of course.
Since then, and again, we were competitive. We were in that game for a period. I think we've put a lot more into the group than what we've got out of it in terms of 1 point return from how well we have played in each game at various points. But ultimately, it's a results business, and we're sitting there. We're sitting there with 1 point from 12. We're deflated for the fourth night in a row. We're coming onto the bus, and we feel as if we should have got more from the game. It's over to the manager to try and turn this around. As you say, Europe's gone for this year, but we need to make sure we don't start slipping up even more in the domestic game, because that St Mirren game was absolutely shocking. We've had 2 very poor performances since then. The manager needs to find a key, and he needs to find it soon. He needs to find it this weekend, and he's got to find a combination that allows us to start scoring goals again.
Well, I think as well, it's not just that. You've got to keep everyone stimulated, Mark. Now, for you, this is an easy task because the league is that's, as you've rightfully pointed out, and it is absolutely your gift to be in the position you are right now as a Celtic season ticket holder who doesn't go to the Champions League because it's just not, you gift your ticket to your brother, which is a fucking amazing thing to do. But you love the league stuff, the domestic stuff. Do you think, though, with some of these players, Mark, they'll share that same passion as you? Is it going to be a harder challenge to keep these guys as motivated when Europe's already a dead rubber? I mean, I think even getting 3rd now, it can happen, but I think it's fanciful. I think the chances are we're finishing bottom out of Europe before Christmas. I think most people agree in the comments. Now, for a young aspiring player, you need to remember, whilst we might not be Stepping Stone FC anymore, if you've been sold, so I'm not going to contradict myself here, but if you've been sold Celtic the way we think Ange has this is the biggest club you'll play at, they might be a bit deflated that, well, European football, it was a nice wee taste, but we scored 2 goals in 6 games, we got 1 point, whatever it might turn out to be, but we were out essentially after 4 games. That's not quite what I thought. And then suddenly we've got St Mirren to play 3 more times. We've got, do you know what I mean? Like teams that, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, I've just picked them out of nowhere. We really need to get back, as Terry says, to being that exciting, free-flowing team. We were seeing scoring so many goals because I think these guys are needing a lift. And I don't think if you look at the domestic fixture list, or just on its own, whilst it may stimulate some people, I'm not sure these modern prima donnas, mate, that join from all corners of the globe, quite signed for Celtic just for those games. So yeah. I think there's a bit of a task at hand here to try and turn the mood a wee bit as well, because there's undeniably been, which I think is in a side point, being mirrored by Kyogo's form. It's so strange. But I think they've both, Celtic and Kyogo, have had very similar dips in form where, as you said, there's wee bursts and moments, but just not at the races, mate. But that is a challenge in itself, isn't it, to keep this? It shouldn't be, but I think it will be.
Oh, you're spot on, mate. I mean, you've got players who, unfortunately, they see Celtic as a stepping stone, so their heads do go down when the big football goes missing. I understand that. I mean, there's players at the club who see their total ambitions as Celtic. There's players in that park that are quite happy to spend their careers at Celtic until their grandmains have played for Celtic, but there's more than that who just want to be playing European football and probably give that wee extra yard of pace and that wee extra bit of energy in Europe. And if that's gone, which I think it is, I agree with you. I think the Europe's finished this season. It would shock me if they managed to get a result, but I think it's finished, boys. I think so. You need to try and keep these players motivated. I think last year was different because last year there was a lot to achieve for this team. Win the league, win the double. Well, Joe, something that's probably why we're getting a lot of views, because see, a lot of the pods are going to be sitting telling in transit that everything's fine and don't worry about it, trust the process. Whereas we just tell them what we think. You know what I mean? That's it.
This is a guy, obviously, in transit's never watched us Terry party. Or we used to do we used to do weekenders, mate. We used to do a post-match show and a Sunday sesh just to celebrate Celtic being amazing when we win trophies, when we win big games. So in transit's obviously new to us.
Post-match wins.
Post-match wins,
guys, mate. Well, listen, see, I think we'd be more arseholes if we just pretended everything was all right. You know what I mean? And that's
four games are out.
Here's the thing.
Let's hope that. Ted. Let's hope that all the players let's hope the players who play for Celtic and the big bucks don't just think, well, what's the point in moaning about that? I hope every one of them goes in night and just reflects on what could have been and goes into training in the morning and tries that a bit harder. Because if we all thought that's good enough and there's no whinge about it, I think the form would take another dip. Yeah. And I don't think the form dip is just about personnel. I think there's been a wee bit of a change in the mood music at Celtic. I think since the 60th minute at Real Madrid, some of the Shakhtar game away, that aside, the full team just looks a different team. And that was when we had Jota, we had Carter Vickers still playing, when we had McGregor still fit. This isn't about personnel. I've seen a wee bit of a change just in the momentum of this team. To be quite honest with you, I took the Queen's death pretty hard. I think we all did. So maybe the Queen's death upset the Celtic players. I don't know what it is, but it all coincided with that period in morning. And I don't know, mate, but I think there's been a moment in their season, I think, and it's changed so far.
But it is at that point, though, isn't it? Because we went into that weekend expecting them to drop points at Pittodrie, us to go 8 clear. And the reality is, we're only 2 points clear now. Lanky 67 comes in and tells us we've had 56 chances in 4 games, only scored 1 goal. It was an own goal. There's nothing wrong winning ugly. It's time to get back to the basics. Terry, here's the other bit, though. Me and you kind of had previewed the Champions League. We were excited about talking about going into the group when the draw was made. I think if you'd said to me after 4 games, we'd had 56 chances, boys. I'd have went, well, Terry, we'll be sitting pretty nicely in that group. That's astonishing when you think about the only goal we scored. It was technically an OG, wasn't it? How has this happened?
It does beggar belief, though. If you were to play back a clip of all the chances we've had in these 4 games, it would be unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Well, Jota scored as well. Jota did score equaliser. That was a good goal.
Aye. Sorry, of course.
Yeah, we've scored 2.
He's saying. He's saying that he must be saying the one we've scored, then the OG's the other one. Ignore me. I'm talking shite. The Jota goal was top quality, but it seems very strange though for me when the side on breaking regularly, a team that we think this year.
He's gone.
I think you had to put 50 pence in the Wi-Fi. I don't know what's happened here. I don't know what point he was making there.
He probably
I don't
doesn't
ask that Tom because he's got to just come in and just spend in a spectacular. But anyway, there has been a shift in momentum in the new Terry, and it's not just because a player getting injured. This was before the injuries. This kind of coincided with the break for the Queen's death. You know what I mean? And
you're right, because we had the 4-0 game against Rangers, then we had the game against Real Madrid, and then it was that week, wasn't it?
It's just I mean, I definitely think there's a wee bit of coincidence that wee break. It was a break before the international break, and Celtic hate them. See, when we get a break when we're on the up, we never come back with the same trajectory.
What does that actually mean though? Because the break was the same for every other team. Every team had the same break and came back at the same time. And do we go back to the COVID year and that's our excuse for not doing the 10? Is it a case of if a curveball comes in, we're not able to deal with it? That can't be the case, because this is different manager, different set of players. I don't know. I
think it's true though to say that when a team's going really well. Sometimes I've been at a game, I watched a game and Celtic are playing brilliant, and then half times came, and in the second half you went, "What the hell happened there?" You
lose the momentum, and I do always feel we come back from international games and it's always a bit disjointed after the 2-week break as well. So there is something in that, yeah.
It's disjointed after triple swaps as well, because that is like an international friendly. That's what happens.
Every game since the Rangers game, we've made half-time subs for no apparent reason, right? I think it's to try and keep up their momentum. But every game since then, and that has just coincided with a dip in our form. Maybe it's coincidental. Maybe, I don't know. But there's something no quite right there. I think if we'd another 105 shots tonight, we wouldn't have scored. And I was the same at St Mirren. I think St Johnstone would get away with it. And I think Motherwell at Celtic Park, I think was just another sticky day that we get away with. And I see every time we get away with one just now, I'm thinking the next week we're going to just come out the traps. Even St Johnstone, I thought we're going to come out the traps, but we've had a lot of kind of close calls and now, you know what I mean? And let's just get back into our stride. And there's just something all right. And it's no personnel. I don't think if Cal McGregor was playing on Saturday there, we would have come out like that. I don't think if Jota was fit for the full 90 minutes, we would just be kicking the ball about and just shifting the ball about the park. And I don't think it's about personnel. There's something, I can't put my finger on it, but there's something different just now about the team on the park. And even with the throw-ins, corner kicks, free kicks, have you noticed it's not got that zip anymore? That rush, that's not happening as much.
Hacksaw seems to have now designated himself as the set piece taker. Did you notice that? He's kind of on corners, he's looking the ball for free kicks. I think Monty put a point up earlier, and we talked earlier about Greg Taylor had a great chance and decided not to shoot. There were two other opportunities in the game. I think Hatate was one of them where he would normally have pulled the trigger. And Moy, towards the end, I think it was still at 1-0. Moy had an opportunity to shoot, and he tried to cut it back as well. And I just wonder, is that just symptomatic of lack of confidence in front of goal that's going through the team, where players are, rather than them be the one that takes the shot, they'll pass it on to someone else and let them have a go.
It's been an interesting one, lads. It is 10-11, and I appreciate you have both got work, so we will call it there.
I'm on holiday.
Oh, are you? Oh, you, mate. Do you want to tell us a wee bit before you go about your trip to Lisbon, mate? In fact,
I'd like to hear that
before you go. I guess 5 minutes, Mark. Tell us about Lisbon.
Well, it was just a wee impromptu kind of trip there with my brother's 30th, my brother Ryan, and we knocked it off. Our apartment was like directly facing Sporting Lisbon Stadium, or Sporting Portugal. They don't call them Sporting Lisbon, seemingly. Not allowed to call them that. So we took a wee trip there. That was for a tour. That was fantastic. So we went to see the Estadio Nacional. And just the minute we got a taxi, it was just phenomenal. Just felt like you're going back in time. It's not really been touched since then. And we allowed all access, no charge, nothing. There must be about 20 Celtic fans there. Nobody paying a penny. It was just bizarre. You just walked in trackside, just walked in the side entrance, and you could just do what you like. So I just walked about the stadium and up to the plinth where McNeil lifted the trophy, spent about 10, 15 minutes. It felt a bit like a coliseum, the inside of it. It felt like it was just lost in time. It just didn't belong to 2022, but it was something good about it. And as you know, I'm a traditional guy. I like everything just to be left the way it is. I hate change, and I just went up to the goals. Behind the goals, I just sat in the very corner for a wee 10 minutes myself, just to soak it in.
Yeah,
I found it dead emotional, mate. I found it really. I tried to phone you, boys. I think you were in the middle of a call at work, but I thought
I seen the video call go.
I've actually got a bit of grass here that my brother cut out. I'm going to get some of that Roxy, or what do you call that, resin to set it. I've not done it yet. I need to get a bit of that. But I would recommend any Celtic fan who's maybe got a spare weekend or maybe some time off work. And do you know something? It's really cheap. See, Lisbon, it isn't normal city prices. I couldn't have spent. I could have spent more in one night than what I spent in 4 days there in Glasgow. Really? I'm not just saying that. Aye, mate. Honestly,
wow.
We were just keen our brothers. My brother Scott, he seemed to be more sensible. I was just keen him €50 a day, and we were all doing that. And my full trip for 4 days, including meals, drinks, everything, cost me. And I went to a couple of. So I went to two stadium tours, as I said. Went to go and see the Christ the King statue, which is beautiful. Anybody that's religious, I spent for the airport in Edinburgh till I got home. I spent €200, and that's how cheap it was. And I thought I took 400 with me, and I thought my bank card should I need it. So it's a really cheap place to go to. I just couldn't believe how cheap it was. And we drank all day. We ate what we wanted. It just didn't work. My brother's probably doing that with his kid, I'd imagine, every now and again. But even the stadium tour for sport in Portugal, 14 or €15. It lasted like 2 hours.
Sensational.
It just, mate, and I think there's a team still playing there, because on when we went to Friday, on the Saturday morning, they were cutting the grass and they had all the kind of advertising boards out and the kind of managers' interviews. See the backing for the managers to get interviewed. That was all on the tunnel for the interviews for the Saturday. So it must have been a game on.
Class.
What an experience! And I must admit, guys, see if you've got a chance, go over there. And what a beautiful city! It's a city I'm going to go back to. I'm going to go back pretty soon. But it's a bit of a pilgrimage, guys. I think I heard Phil saying that it's maybe getting renovated, so your time's probably running out to see it as is.
No, you wouldn't want it to have that, eh?
Don't want to do that, and it was free, mate. I mean, see if it was €50 for that access, we would have all paid it. I mean, it was just, imagine what a Celtic Park and going that to you. On you go. Go where you want, do what you want. I just couldn't imagine that happening in any stadium in Scotland, but just such nice people, and it was lovely, mate. And they've got a plaque. I don't know if everybody knows this. There's a plaque just outside the main entrance where the players would go in, and it's just got Celtic, Lisbon Lions, starting 11, Real Madrid, at Milan starting 11, 2-1, and they just kept it stock in history for, I think, for Celtic, and it was quite emotional. I just wanted about the park. My brother and my two brothers, they did a race along. See the track, the running track.
Yeah.
Did a 100-meter sprint along the running track, and I just thought that's mental how we could just do that in such an iconic stadium. You know what I mean? I just found it just phenomenal. I was actually watching the pitch. And I was picturing the ball hitting the back of the net, and I could just it was just amazing, mate. Honestly, I recommend you do it if he's got time off work or he's just looking for a wee time away with his friends, family. It's good.
Good insight, Matt. Brilliant. And it's nice to leave her a note, Terry, of European greatness, because
I'm going to leave you another note. I've just been browsing through the scores from tonight. So for anybody that thinks it isn't possible to get results in the Champions League, Shakhtar Donetsk 1, Real Madrid 1, FC Copenhagen 0, Manchester City 0. Maccabi Haifa 2, Juventus 0. Paris Saint-Germain 1, Benfica 1.
Wow. Brilliant, Terry, because I think a lot of that's the reality as well. You know, we've got to get rid of whatever inferiority complex we seem to have managed to achieve of late. We really need to get that too far. And I don't know. I don't like the fact, even tonight, I'll tell you how far it's sunk, right? See, when the Champions League music played, like, I get kind of, I'm like, my hair's on end. I'm just loving it, man. I've got the buzz. And I'm watching, like, it goes, like, as the camera pans past the Leipzig players, and they're like this, looking around, making sure, and they're smiling.
Aye.
And I'm like, I remember picturing far better players than them, by the way. I'm talking about far, far better players standing there, and they're almost freezing in the moment. You know what I mean? They're almost going, this. I don't know how that goes back to that, of course. And because of the fame of it all, it's now almost became like something you want to do. But my memory is, was that players used to not like it. Now they seem to. I don't know if they're not taking us serious. I don't know if they're taking us seriously or not. I think like that when we're chanting, I don't think they're realising we're, it's 60,000 nutters. And maybe you need a wee bit more of that attitude replicated on the part. But that is nearly 11. I'm going to call it there. Thank you to everyone in the comments. It's been a brilliant bus, albeit not a brilliant Champions League campaign for Celtic. If you haven't already, do hit that like button, hit the share button. That's a crazy amount of people watching and jumped on the bus tonight, and I thank you for that. We will be back, obviously, as always this week. We've got loads to do. The Thursday Night Forum, we've got Nostalgia, we've got P.M.P on Saturday. On Sunday, there's a very special rebirth of the Double Doon show coming back as Kaiser gets put through his paces. It's not we've not had him on yet, so we're looking forward to doing that on Sunday as well. In the meantime, everyone else, enjoy what's left of your evening. Sleep well, I suppose, and I hope work's not too hungover. Thanks again, gentlemen. I'll see you all later.
Some of his comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now, and you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan.